Okay, so we're continuing our Avraham on the Drashos. I gotta say, I did not prepare tonight. I was too busy watching the news because it's not every day that you have a coup in the U.S. government. And if I had a better quotation from Avraham, I would say it. But I'll say what I heard, or sorry, what the only thing I read, which was last week in Vayechi. He said, Avraham says there are three types of deaths. Okay, there's a premature death, there's a death in its proper time, and then there's a death by neshika, by a kiss of God. Okay, so he says death, premature death is most people. That's when your life, there's going to be a natural lifespan for every individual, and you can shorten it by your actions and your chatayin, right? So he says that's most people. Like most people die before their time. Then there's death in its proper time, and he says one of the tzaddikim die in their proper time, and one of the like perks of that type of death is that you know that you're going to die. So this is all an explanation of last week's parsha of Yaakov dying. He says Yaakov got sick and then he died. So like you would think that someone who gets sick isn't like you can only get sick if you're not under the hashgacha, you know. But he says no. But if you get sick, that gives you time to reflect on your death and then to like say your last words, and then you can die. So it's actually a benefit. And then the only people to die by kiss is Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam because they reach the highest level of anybody. And the Torah says explicitly by Moshe and Aaron, but not by Miriam, because it would not be tznuah to talk about God like, kissing her, and so that's like the highest level where you transition directly into like olam haba and like nothing bad, So the drasha, and this is a drasha because we're doing drashas around, is what is America's death going to look like? Not a kiss. It's not a kiss. So the thing that most people feel like is that America will last forever, right? Or America will last for a long time. What people don't know, and this is what I was trying to find in my archives, is the founding fathers, the ones who made statements about it, believe that America would last like 50 or 100 years, and that's it. Yeah. And it's like very disheartening. And like one of them, I think it was John Adams, I don't remember specifically, made the statement, America will last for about 20 more years. And then like when that time elapsed, then it was the Great Depression. So if you were around at that time and you knew about that statement, you'd be very, very hopeless, And so what's interesting about it is the idea that like even the people who created this amazing system that we have here did not have high hopes for it. Like maybe it'll last for like a number of generations and then that's it. And that just shows you how fragile the good is when in the face of human nature, So that's what I've been thinking about tonight. Yeah, not that I think that this event tonight is going to end everything. I think that this event tonight is a sign that things ended a while ago, and this is just people coming to realize that maybe things are not the way that they think it's going to be. So that's my 2 cents. What? Yeah. I mean, I don't know when though. I don't know enough about history to say when. Meaning that like that the system went bad a while ago, and that we're just in the aftermath. Yeah. So that's why I didn't prepare. I was just watching the news all night. Okay, so let's get this going. Okay, so as we've been doing, I'm sharing on the screen the standard edition of Avraham the Drashos of Chazal, but then we're using the good edition. So I think we did the first. So we're in the chalik of incidents, of anecdotes, Talmudic anecdotes, right? So the first one was anecdotes that have a lesson, right? And the anecdotes that had a lesson were either in halacha, or in midos, or in deos, or in uncommon incidents that occur, right? We thought that was a little weird that he had that as a separate category. Uncommon incidents that occur, like. Talk about that a little bit more. As if we were going to understand this. Do you have further understanding? Right. What was the example he gave? is the what's this the name, right? Yeah, the Rabbi Meir reading the names.
Right after the overpowering shepherd.
Overpowering shepherd. Yeah, I've been thinking about that all week. Yeah, but Rabbi Meir interpreted the guy's name and said it was Kidor, and therefore said don't trust him because Kidor tapuchos hema, that he must be duplicitous. And like Rabbi, who were the other ones? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi didn't believe him, and then they basically stole his wallet, right? And he was like, see?
Right.
And so the question that we have is like, so what are we supposed to get out of it? Because it's not halacha, certainly. It's not midos, and it's not deos that we can have. Because if it, I mean, the fact that let's put it this way, the fact that Avraham and Rama is differentiating means that it's not deos that we can have. So it must be like something unique to Rabbi Meir. So then what's the purpose to us?
Didn't the other people in the story also pick it up after that?
Well, when they saw that the results were like that. But then why doesn't he just say it's deos? The fact that he says it's a masios sheniktavu b'mipnei shiur b'hem davar pele v'inyan tema, which is not in the other categories.
Right. Seems like a trick, like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Like a skill. Like a skill.
Yeah.
Like a skill that this person has.
Yeah. I mean, I could bust something out. You want me to bust something out? The Freud Seltzer theory. You heard of this?
And Seltzer existed back then.
It did. Yeah, I'll read this. It's good. It's good. All right, so I'm going to read this. Okay, so this is Freud. Okay, we'll see if this applies or if I'm just projecting. Okay, I think it applies. Yeah. So this is in the new introductory lectures on psychoanalysis. Okay, and lecture 30, dreams and occultism, and he is taking up the question of, are there such thing as occult phenomena like mediums and like, you know, what do you call it? The ESP, you know, stuff like that, right? So he says, we propose to proceed with these things as we do with any other scientific material. First of all, to establish whether such events can really be shown to occur, and then and only then, when their factual nature cannot be doubted, to concern ourselves with their explanation. So first step, see if they exist. Secondly, explain them. So then he says, it cannot be denied, however, that even the putting of this decision into action is made hard for us by intellectual, psychological, and historical factors. The case is not the same as when we approach other investigations. In other words, like, you're going to be really skeptical from the get-go whether these things are actually real. Okay, so now he gives this beautiful thing, okay? This is good. Regardless of whether this applies to Avraham and Rambam, this is good Freud. Let us suppose that the question at issue is the constitution of the interior of the earth. Okay, and this is in the time when geology was a new science, okay? We have, as you are aware, no certain knowledge about it. We suspect that it consists of heavy metals in an incandescent state. Then let us imagine that someone puts forward an assertion that the interior of the earth consists of water saturated with carbonic acid. That is to say, a kind of soda water. Okay, so we think that it's molten like minerals and rocks, but someone says it's seltzer. Okay, we shall no doubt say that this is most improbable, that it contradicts all our expectations and pays no attention to the known facts which have led us to adopt the metal hypothesis. Nevertheless, it is not inconceivable. If someone were to show us a way of testing the soda water hypothesis, we should follow it without objecting. Okay, so it's not impossible, right? We're skeptical, but we'll test it. Okay, but suppose now that someone else comes along and seriously asserts that the core of the earth consists of jam. Our reaction to this will be quite different. We shall tell ourselves that jam does not occur in nature, that it is a product of human cooking, that moreover, the existence of this material presupposes the presence of fruit trees and their fruit, and that we cannot see how we can locate vegetation and human cookery in the interior of the earth. Reasonable. The result of these intellectual objections will be a switching of our interests. Instead of starting upon an investigation of whether the core of the earth really consists of jam, we shall ask ourselves what sort of person this must be who can arrive at such a notion. Or at most, we shall ask him where he got it from. Okay, what kind of thing you're thinking of there? The unlucky inventor of the jam theory will be very much insulted and will complain that we are refusing to make an objective investigation of his assertion on the ground of a pretendedly scientific prejudice. but this will be of no help to him. We perceive that prejudices are not always reprobated, but that they are sometimes justified and expedient because they save us useless labor. In fact, they are only conclusions based on an analogy with other well-founded judgments. A whole number of occultist assertions have the same sort of effect on us as the jam hypothesis, so that we may consider ourselves justified in rejecting them at sight without further investigation. So in other words, if you had infinite time, you would investigate every single theory, but you don't. So you investigate the ones that are in line with the prevailing way of thinking. And then secondarily, you inspect the ones that are possible, even though they're not probable, but you reject the ones that are totally loony. Okay? But, and this is the important thing, but all the same, the position is not so simple. A comparison like the one I have chosen proves nothing, or proves as little as comparisons in general. It remains doubtful whether it fits the case, and it is clear that the choice was already determined by our attitude of contemptuous rejection. Prejudices are sometimes expedient and justified, but sometimes they are erroneous and detrimental, and one can never tell when they are the one and when the other. The history of science itself abounds in instances which are a warning against premature condemnation. For a long time, it was regarded as a senseless hypothesis to suppose that the stones, which we now call meteorites, could have reached the Earth from outer space, or that the rocks forming mountains in which the remains of shells are embedded could have once formed the bed of a sea. Incidentally, much of the same thing happened to our psychoanalysis when it brought forward its inference of there being an unconscious, right? Because Freud was the first one to really propose that there was an unconscious, and people said, oh, unconscious emotions, that's a contradiction in terms. It can't be true, right? Thus, we analysts have special reason to be careful in using intellectual considerations for rejecting new hypotheses, and must admit that they do not relieve us from feelings of antipathy, doubt, and uncertainty. Okay, so in other words, on the one hand, you have to be expedient in with your limited time and resources, and not give priority to things which are crazy sounding. But on the other hand, you can't just say that they must be false, because science has many instances of things which seemed ridiculous but are actually true. So now applying this to the Avraham and Ramam, there are masim sheniru v'irubahem. Oh, sorry, that's what we're doing today. Hold on. How do you introduce it? That's not what I read. Let's read the good one. Right? So astounding things, right? I was just reading the wrong thing. Yeah. So in other words, this sounds crazy that Rabbi Meir was able to tell a guy's character from his name, right? And if you heard this from anyone else, you would dismiss it. But the fact that Rabbi Meir had it, and Rabbi Meir was the greatest chacham, and it happened to him, must mean that there's some validity here. And I don't know if this is enough to warrant a separate category, but the fact that it sounds crazy means that you would dismiss it if it came in any other way. So having this category as a crazy anecdote that teaches you something might, again, I'm not saying that this is what Freud was saying, but it does function in the same way that Freud was saying, which is that it's astounding, but it happened, because he's saying that these are things that actually happened. And presenting them as such in the Talmud means that you're going to think twice before you reject it out of hand. Yeah, Isaac?
The second example also was like, I think fits with that, in that it's like extreme example of gift, like giving, which if someone were to say like you know applies like that extreme, you'd be like, that's way too much.
Yeah.
This actually happened, and
right.
You know, it's the Chazal who did, you know. Right.
Yeah. So I'm still not comfortable saying, like, I still feel like the three categories you said before, especially because they correspond to the Ralbag's categories of mitzvos, midos, and deos, which are the three parts of the Torah regimen. I would be happier if that were the threefold division. But I can see from a rhetorical perspective that having something that's a crazy incident that happened that you learned something from, like, rhetorically, you need that category. Meaning, if there were only these three categories, you might just be tempted to say, oh, this couldn't have happened, and it must be a mashal. But the fact that there's a category of crazy incidents that happen to Chachamim will prompt you to say, okay, maybe this is in the category of crazy incidents that have the chachamim, and I gotta learn from it. You know,
You can learn what? What do you
you can learn the other categories.
Oh,
But so that's what I'm saying is that this is not if there were just 3 categories, I would say it's categories of ideas, categories based on content. But if it's other 3 categories, it's didactic categories, things that teach you something in a different way. One's teaching you a halacha, one's teaching you a midah, one's teaching you a dea, and one's teaching you something that you would be inclined to reject because it's so crazy. And that could be in the other 3 categories of content. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best context is what if the Gemara just said that as a statement, and let's say the Gemara says you can be Doric me.
Yeah.
You'd say it must mean something other than what it seems like it's saying, because that's ridiculous.
Right.
And so it's teaching you. I say the 4th category of which I think the 4 categories can overlap.
Yeah.
I think it's teaching you it's not as ridiculous as it sounds.
Yeah, right.
As it sounds.
Right. Now, should we venture an interpretation of this? What do we make of the fact that Rabbi Meir was distrustful of the guy because his name was Kidor, and he said because Kidor tapulos hema that it's a generation of reversals, and he said that this guy is not trustworthy, and the other Tanaim said, oh, he's fine. What do we make of that machlokas?
Just because of his name.
Yeah, just because of his name.
Is that all we have to work with?
That's all we have to work with.
Apparently, it's all Rabbi Meir had to work with.
Yeah, I'll just read it again. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Havu Ka'azli Ba'orcha. So they were traveling. Iklu lahahu ushpiza. They went to an inn. Amar le Rabbi Meir la ushpiza. B'ni ma shmecha. Rabbi Meir said to this guy, my son, what is your name? Amar le Kidor. He said, my name is Kidor. Inhu yahavule kisaihu. Rabbi Meir lo yahavule kisei. He doesn't quote the whole thing. He quotes it in the bottom, right? So Rabbi Meir gave him, the other guys gave him their wallet, and Rabbi Meir didn't give him the wallet. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's too long. All right. Rabbi Meir basically said, because the pasuk in Hazina says, Ki dor tahupulos hema, that because they are a generation of reversals, of duplicity, so then this guy's not trustworthy. And then they had a whole thing, and then the guy tried to steal their wallet.
Because they're a generational of duplicity.
Yeah. And that's talking about B'nai Yisrael. It's not even talking about this guy. Yeah.
Is it a machlokas in whether you can infer someone's personality?
But what would be the basis of doing that, right? Because you would think, I'll quote another Gemara, right? And remember, you can't bring rayos from Gemara, from Midrashim, right? But there's another Midrash that says, I don't remember the particulars, but let me see if I can get it. Hold on. If I can find the PowerPoint. Names. Significance of names. Parshas Vayete. I wrote something on this. An unpublished Devar Torah. This is not on the blog. It says in Bereshis Rabbah 71:3. There are 4 categories of names and the people who bear them. Those whose names are nice and whose actions are nice. 2, those whose names are reprehensible and whose actions are reprehensible. 3, those whose names are reprehensible but whose actions are nice. 4, those whose names are nice but whose actions are reprehensible. And then it gives examples. So in other words, the point is that like the name does not correspond to the character for good or for bad. There's all examples. So that seems to argue against Rabbi Meir.
The Midrash kind of seems self-contradictory because it's saying that there's the 4 categories, but it's also making them categories.
Yes, which implies that there's a reality.
Yeah.
It could have just said names don't matter if it wanted to say names don't matter.
I'd say, like, if I wanted to interpret that Midrash and also hold this, I would just say that it's people who are overcoming the effect of their name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I think. I don't know how to define it as a machlokas. Like, I don't know if there's an actual theory, but there is a reality to the fact that people are influenced by psychologically by their name, So in other words, if you are named after that's why we name people after tzaddikim, right? In hopes that they'll aspire to them, because it's the idea of a namesake, But if you name a kid Adolf Hitler, probably that's going to affect him, right? Probably for bad. Okay. So the question though is how far do you take that? Like, if you name someone for a tzaddik, then it's like an assumption that people, and he knows that he's named after a tzaddik. There's like an assumption that he will aspire to that. Doesn't mean he's going to guarantee anything, but there's an assumption he's going to aspire to that. And if you name him after a Russia or some bad meaning, like I think, there are really, really bad names, either because of the language or whatever. Like, what is it? Is it actually a modern Hebrew name, Moran?
Moron.
Yeah. Because like if you're if you come to English speaking society and they call you moron all the time, like it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you psychologically, So the question is like, how far do you extend that? Like Kidor Tapuchosem as a pun, right? Kidor and Kidor Tapuchosem as a pun. And apparently Rebbe Meir held that could affect him to the point where it's actually going to make him like it's going to actually affect his character. And Rabbi Yossi held, and the other one held not.
Can you also maybe say that the name itself, if someone is called, okay, fine, let me just back up. Like there are certain names with specific to some cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you're not gonna find a Yankala in like a Muslim community. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find Yaakov and.
Although you'll find a Yishmael in the Jewish community.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. The point is like this. Maybe you could say that. That name. Maybe it's not just about the name. It's about the name and the culture that the name's coming from.
Yeah, that could be. And we don't even know what nationality this guy was or like where they were traveling.
So maybe it's like maybe the focus is. Do you say that? And I'm going under the premise, that the Romero had to have known, some more instead with the name, but more beyond that, such as like the culture and like the where he's coming from, and like the background of society and whatever. But maybe you could say that. Do you say that? That it's not a good one. It's no more thinking about it, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Sure.
Do you say that that everyone in that culture is doomed, for corruption?
Yeah.
Or like no, like you can have individuals break.
All right, that's a little too far because I don't think we're.
But take what I'm saying, like 20 steps back.
Okay, yeah, right.
But I don't think you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know how to define the logos, but like,
I mean, I think definitely Ramir is making an assumption. He's not saying that he's not holding by like a denial of Bechira, But the question is like, and again, I can't define the machlokas, but I feel like it's going to be somewhere along these lines of to what extent does a person's name affect or shape the expectations of them and therefore their behavior. And like Ramir is even going to the extent that a pun based on a pasuk is going to affect them. And that's why the other Chachamim held that was ridiculous. I don't know, I mean, look, I have a great aunt named, her nickname was Tiny. Okay. And she was small. You got to imagine that if you call someone tiny, that's going to affect their self-conception. It's going to affect the way that the people look at them, like you can't be called tiny, if in the culture, tiny is something that is like a weakness or a deficiency and everyone calls you that, it's going to affect you, So the question is, how far do you extend that? Kidor, if everyone associates Kidor Tapuchosema, because that's the only pasuk where you say Kidor, then maybe that'll affect you.
Well, it's also a mindset type of thing. It has to be a mindset because, like, I think you're right. Maybe there's a machlokas. Maybe you could say that someone can. Maybe you could say that someone is so fixated on his name that he just cannot break out of that mindset. Mm-hmm. Or do you say no? People can, and it's true. People actually can break out of that mindset.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't want to make it into machlokas about reality. I want to make it a machlokas about assumptions about people. Because certainly people could break out of that reality. I don't think it would be too strong of machlokas to say can you or can you not break out of it. The question is, if you meet someone with a name and you don't know anything else about them, then what assumptions do you make about them? And that was Rebbe Meir didn't give him his wallet, and like the other ones, the other time did.
Right, It's like I think it's one thing to say like people are influenced by their names and even influenced by puns,
Yeah.
like in general. But then to say like you can reverse engineer it is difficult because like maybe he was influenced in a different way that like.
Right, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to make a decision though, right? About like,
Right.
do you act on the premise that they might be influenced by their name or not? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, but the assumption is going off of that. Meaning, like the assumption is going off of whether or not he's completely attached to his name, and the name is associated to his mindset.
Right, but what I'm saying though is that like it's an assumption about like what are the probabilities about this guy. It's not a question of, it's not like Rabbi Meir holds, if you have this name, you will be influenced 100%. It's a question of how do we act practically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you're talking, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you give the guy the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
You know, in which case, all right, I'm going to risk. It's a risk reward thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to risk giving him my wallet under the assumption that he can break out of that
Yeah.
mindset. Or you say that no, like I would rather keep all my money because I'm Jew and I like money and like I'm just joking. I'm joking. You know, and you know, I don't want to risk my money getting stolen.
Yeah.
But the premise of the whole thing is if you can break out of that.
Yeah.
You know.
I still don't like saying that way. No.
Why?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying not
I'm
the
saying
premise.
that.
Okay, you can say that. The premise is not can you break out of the thing. The premise is do we assume that you are going to break out of the thing. It's not a question about you. It's a question about what do I assume about you.
It's a question of
You could totally break out of the thing. It's just a question: am I going to risk the chance? Am I going to risk it?
Hold on a minute. So the assumption is whether or not. So the okay, hold on.
Let me
So
give you another.
I-
Let me give you another example. This is a better example. Okay, and this is a more common
No,
example.
I get it though.
No, no, you don't.
No, I do.
Your name is Ariel. You can't get it.
Well, that's not true.
No. So here's a better example. There are cultures where you name someone junior, right? You name them after their father, right?
Right.
So the question is, if you have a kid who's named after their father, to what extent is that going to shape their character, right? Okay, now, whether or not that actually shapes the character, Ray Mir, I'm sure, holds that the kid has total free will. He
Yeah,
can
I agree
break
with
out of it, right? The only
yeah,
question is,
yeah.
what if all I know about this kid is that he has a name and his father has the same name, and that's how he was raised? What am I going to act based on?
Yeah, you're going to act based off of the given facts that are in front of you.
Yeah,
And the given facts are: do I risk my
Yeah.
wallet getting stolen around
Yeah.
based off of what I see?
right. If the guy's name is Gunnoff Jr., you know, you're not going to risk it. Yeah.
No, I got that part. I was just
Yeah, I had a student, this is a side point, had a student whose last name was Chazal, okay? And it took me a long time to think, okay, well, who would name, like, how did that come to be? You know, now it could be from another language, and if that's the case, then it's not a question. But then I realized that Gozal means a dove, and it might come from that, you know? She didn't know. Yeah, but like that's the thing. It's like, you know,
no, if your name
I know, Chazal, yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're doomed.
Yeah. But see, but that's a good example, right? The fact that she didn't know and it never occurred to her that like her name has anything to do like with theft, you know? Yeah.
Well, I associate my name to like the base of English.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Isaac, what were you gonna say?
I'd say I'd put it I'd say a little bit less structured than the way that you two were talking about.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I like
Freaking
that.
out or not freaking out. I think it's a more like that almost sounds like your name sets like a predetermined like path, and then you can choose to deviate from that path or not. I think it's like it'll influence how you think about yourself and how other people relate to you. And let's say your name is Chazal, and when people let's say people either make comments about that or will let's say especially like a Hebrew speaking society where they're familiar with the word, then they'll let's say like kidor, if everyone's like, oh, like kidor chapolas
Hema.
Yeah. If you're like, oh, Peter, like the pasuk, and then it builds, like then a person can develop a mental image of themselves based on is influenced by that. Not even based on it, it's influenced by that. And so that's the thing the question is, to what extent do you take that into consideration when interacting?
Yeah, I don't think that's different than what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm phrasing it. My main thing is phrasing it. It's changing it from being
Breaking out. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, Avraham was a shade. He told me that I was named after Avraham was a Gazansky, so I felt like an obligation to.
Oh, nice, good. Oh.
Yeah, we have to put a shade somewhere.
I think the junior thing is a really good example.
Yeah.
Because if I were to meet someone like that, I feel like my first question would be like, did you follow in your father's footsteps, or did you rebel against what you?
Yeah.
I mean, I had problems, but it's both of those are because of the influence of the fact that they're named after their father.
It's funny you think that. You know what I think about that? My first question would be, you were raised by an extremely egocentric father. How did that affect your upbringing? That's
my first observation.
Yeah. What?
What was the name?
Junior.
Oh, Junior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting now because maybe that's the machlokes between Ashkenaz and Spartan in the sense that you name your children after your living grandparents.
Yeah, I've thought about that.
I'm joking. I don't really know. But
No, I
it's
thought
fascinating to think that because I was named after my grandfather, but I have no association to him, so I have no idea if I'm living his lifestyle.
Right, but there's another effect that practice has, which I think is good, is the idea, and I'm not saying that this is good in an absolute sense. I'm saying that there is a beneficial effect of this. I don't know if there are detrimental effects, but if the convention is that you're named after your grandfather and that goes all the way back, so your name is not really yours. What? Right? Meaning your name, you're going to be named this no matter what, and it's not your name. You're carrying on the name of someone before you. That itself is a humility-inducing thing to be named. The fact that you're named after, it's an automatic thing, even more so than Ashkenazim, because Ashkenazim have a caveat, which is if it's a living relative, then you're not going to be named after that person. Where Spartan is just Shimon ben Gamliel ben Shimon ben Gamliel ben Shimon ben Gamliel going all the way back. It's you're just slotted into it.
But why can't you say that? Well, my parents gave me the name. I had no choice. So why can't I just use that logic to?
Because they chose it for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They chose it for me.
No, right. But I'm saying if there's a rule in the Spartan of the firstborn son is going to name you after the grandfather, they didn't choose it. It had to be that name. So it's less specific to you. They had to choose it.
Meaning you could even some from the father?
Yeah, you name it after your grandfather, yeah.
I don't know if I want to name my kid after my father though.
So no.
Yeah, it's up to you. Yep.
Yeah, that's choosing whether to break out of it or not.
Yeah, that says more about you. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah.
I just screwed myself.
Okay, are we ready to go into the second category? Yeah.
I'm just gonna make another observation.
Sure.
This category, given that we just had this discussion.
Yeah.
Which is, this is a category that I feel that this example is something that if it would have just been a statement, even a statement of the art, it would have just we would have just brushed past it, and then moved on.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's saying this actually happened.
Yeah.
And they recognized he was right about it.
And it's Rabbi Meir, who was the greatest genius of his time, Yeah. And that's what I was saying for my thing of the fact that it's a Pele. I think rhetorically that is a different category. You take note of that and you're okay, that's crazy. It's a crazy anecdote. But if it happened and the Gemara is reporting it, then there must be something to learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah, it like launches in your mind and you reflect on it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this next one's weird. Not that this one wasn't. Okay.
Yeah, this was very weird.
Yeah. Chelik Hasheni, is that where we're at? Hamasios sheniru v'iru lahem b'chalom. And incidents that happened that they saw and that happened to them in a dream. V'zachru osam b'lashon tzach upashut ladatam. And they mentioned it in a language that was clear and simple to their mind. It's impossible that someone who's a rational person could make a mistake. So in other words, this is something that is, they were just reporting a dream and no one is going to mistake this for reality. Okay. You know where it is in that thing?
No.
Should be in the intro, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I said that I didn't turn it to the page, I meant I didn't turn to the exact page. I think I turned to the section though. Yeah. Drashos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
I was just like, I thought I was gonna like read. I got it.
I see. Okay.
Confused, but
Yeah. You might do that too. V'kamohu mash amar chazal b'brachos. Okay, like that is what they said in brachos. Zayin amar aleph. Tanya amar b'yishmael pam achas nichnasti lahaktir ketoras lifnai lifnim ver'isi akatriel. Oh my. So one time I went to go offer ketoras in the Kodesh Kodashim and I saw a katriel. Who is a katriel? Presumably a malach. I'm going to look at the All Torah translation of this midrash.
See a distinct one within a category? See more categories.
I don't know what a malach means. Yeah. Let's see here. All
Cool.
Torah.
It says here, and I saw the Lord of hosts seated on a high and exalted throne.
Oh my, that's even worse.
But you saw Lord on
The Lord of hosts on high,
of
seated on
course
high. Yeah, the Lord of hosts seated on high.
Lord of
So I guess God seated.
Okay, so here's the All Torah version, and again, this might Yaakov, you can spot me. Okay, this is different than the one that we have. Did they say it in the footnote? I don't know. We'll
Ours
find.
is that one line, isn't it?
Yeah, but it says v'chule, and then there's a footnote. Does it say in Yodalid?
Two footnotes.
That-
Yeah, you're right.
And this is what they've been doing up until now, right? They usually bring down the entire thing.
Sorry, the footnotes are huge.
Yeah, they are
I don't
huge.
know.
All right, fine. All right, I'll just read and see what happens. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha Pam Achas Nichnasti L'Haktir Ketoras Lifnai Lifnim Risi Akatriel. Oh yeah, Akatriel Ka Adeshem Tzvakos. So I guess that's the name of God. So I saw Akatriel Ka Adeshem Tzvakos, one of the names of God. I've never heard of that one before. I assumed it was an angel. Shuhu Yoshev Al Kisei Ramanisa. He was sitting on a high and exalted throne. Vamarli, and he said, Yishmael Bani, Yishmael my son. Baracheni. Whoa. Is this not a davar pella? He said, my son, Yishmael, bless me. Amarti lo. I said to him, Yehi ratzon milfnecha sheyichbashu rachamecha es ka'ascha. May be favorable before you that your mercy should conquer your anger. The golu rachamecha al midosacha, and that your mercy should, they say in English here, prevail over your midos. And that you conduct yourself with your children in accordance with the trait of mercy. And you should enter into them beyond the letter of the law. The nina li barosha, and he nodded his head. The kamash malan shalotehe birkas hedyot kala beinecha. And we learn from here the bracha of a ordinary person should not be light in your eyes, because even he blessed God. Chas v'shalom, chalila chalila.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, so what does the Rambam say about this? So he's saying this is in a dream.
Wait, what was the name? Azrael.
Akatriel.
Akatriel.
I will crown God.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's a malach.
No, it's God.
Oh,
Yeah. We thought it was a Malach. I just assumed it was a Malach because all the ELs, you know. The kazeh nimsa b'divreihem b'harbe mukomos. You'll find this in many places. I feel like he said that about a lot of categories. You're going to find many of these. I mean, the famous ones are.
I'm excited to see what he doesn't say.
Yeah. I thought the famous ones are like the Rabba Bar Bar Chana stories. Is that his dreams, like the crazy dreams?
What?
You heard of this? Have you heard of The Juggler and the King, the book in English? I think that has a lot of explanations of those, yeah. Okay, long footnotes, you're right. I didn't read these again. If I had prepared, I would have read them. Maybe we'll do it some other time. Let's just read on. Similarly, the incidents where they mention in them the visions of the Nevi'im, where they mention what they spoke with them, and they say how the malachim benefited them. Same thing with incidents involving shadim. Wow, he's categorizing these. I don't know what he means by the Nevi'im. Does he mean like in the actual Nevi'im, or he means like incidents in the Gemara where they mention stuff that the Nevi'im said? That's weird.
Well, I think it's according to the author of this edition, at least,
Mr. Myman?
Mr. Marvin. It sounds like it's any story in the Gemara where there's things with Malachim going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. But Maras HaNevi'im, though, he mentions.
Yeah, Marvin.
Wow, these footnotes are incredibly long. Like taking him the entire page. All right, yeah, this is a bad day to not prepare. Should have gone through these. Okay, fine, but we can always go back. All right, let's go on. So someone who sees these matters in the Talmud, whose heart is not with him, okay, or his mind is not with him, he'll think that these were things that actually happened as they were written. And he'll come to believe something that was impossible. That it is possible, or that it had to have happened. All this happens occurs to him due to the abundance of his idiocy. And his lack of knowledge of the nature of the world, of Maaseh Hanisim, and in miraculous incidents, Uvedivrei Chachamim Zal, and Derech HaChachamim, and the way of the Chachamim, Shu Derech HaNevi'im Shesapru B'Lashon HaPashut Ma Shibrau B'Mar Zanuva, where they say something in Lashon HaPashut. When he says Lashon HaPashut, I think he means like in everyday language, what they saw in a prophetic vision. V'derech zo darchu ba HaChachamim Kamo Shebir Abba Mari Zal B'Mor HaNevuchim L'Mevian, and the Chachamim took this path as my father, the Ramam, explained the Mor Nevuchim to the one who understands. Yeah. So the question is like, how do you differentiate between, I mean, I guess this is a different type of anecdote than any of the four preceding categories. You're not going to mistake this as a halachic thing. You're not going to mistake this as a real incident that taught midos because it's too crazy. You're not going to mistake it as a real incident that taught deos because it's too crazy. And I guess this is something that would be too crazy to classify as a pella, as a unusual incident.
Yeah, how do you?
You don't see a katriel,
Right.
Kat Zvakos in heaven bless you. You know?
Yeah, so it's just an intuition thing.
Yeah. I guess you'll have an intuition about like what is what's something that's real that can happen that's rare. Like the really rare thing is just it's a pella because like why would you think that he could do this? It's not a pella in the sense that it couldn't have happened. There's nothing about the incident that says like it's impossible that this happened.
Right.
But seeing God on his throne and him saying bless me, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
The benefit of these stories could still be the same as the earlier videos.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that's going to be true of any of these anecdotes that we see.
That what would be the benefit?
Teaching an idea, a midah, or a halacha. Probably not a halacha. Yeah. I would guess an idea. Okay, next. Ma'asios she'iru b'metzius ella shehigzimu b'sipuran. So things that were told, the incidents that happened in reality, but they were exaggerated in their telling. Yeah. This is like the fifth category of the drashos, exaggerations. That was right, it's fifth category?
Right.
Have we forgotten already? Fifth category was
Yeah.
drashos nemer b'guzma uva hafraza. Things that happened, drashos that were about exaggeration. Okay. The third incident, the third category, maiso she'iru ba'olam kamo shekasu behen. Things that happened in the world as they were written. Ella shadabru b'hem b'lashon havai. They were stated in an exaggerated manner. Ladatam, according to their opinion. or according to their intention. Ki lo yita bal seichel bahem. In other words, they said them with the intention that no one is going to no intelligent person is going to make a mistake about these. Kihim makirim uvinim bahem shem lashon havai, because people are going to recognize that these are exaggerations. That did not happen. V'hu kamosh amr b'gemara tamid. This is like it said in the Gemara Tamid. Dibur Torah b'lashon havai, dibur neviim b'lashon havai, dibur chachamim b'lashon havai. Right, the Torah spoke in hyperbole, the neviim spoke in hyperbole, and the chachamim spoke in hyperbole.
When does the Torah speak in hyperbole?
What?
When does the Torah speak in
He's going to give examples. Dibur Torah b'lashon havai, arim gedolos b'tzoros b'shamayim.
Right, the Ram uses that.
Yeah. Do you know where the Ram uses that? I feel like he does, but yeah.
Maybe the first two.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ooh, a precise citation.
Nice.
Very good. Cities that were great and fortified up into the heavens. Can't be up into the heavens. That's like what we say skyscrapers. They don't scrape the sky. They're just very tall. Dibru neviim b'lashon havai v'tibaka ha'aretz l'kolam. The earth split to their voice. I don't know where that's a reference to.
Somewhere in the video.
Yeah. Dibru chachamim b'lashon havai tapuach v'gefen uparochas. What is that referring to? Does your English say?
Yeah, they exaggerated when they described the heaps of ashes on the altar, saying that there were 300 core of ashes, an immense quantity on the altar.
300 core, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. Okay, fine. See, so that's an interesting example because I feel like that's not even teaching an idea. It's just like, it's a figure of speech. It's just, there's a lot, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Ushlosh makomos elu, these three places, Tapuch Gefen Parochas, Him Mishnah. These are in the Mishnah. Ki Talmud Yimtza Havai Le'in Mispar. There you go again, right? So that's an example from the Mishnah, but in the Talmud you find like an infinite number of examples of these. Shlo Yimne Chaf Gimel V'lo Beis Gimel. What is that supposed to mean?
Oh, it's just to say one example. Rabbah and Ramzera had the Purim feast together. Is that the other thing that we had?
Oh, that's gonna be next. Yeah. Oh, this is my favorite one.
Oh, didn't we? Maybe he mentioned that when he was talking about it before.
I don't think so.
I wonder if he said that it's not a count, you can't count it
Just
as much as high.
That you can't count what?
He said you'll find that, like so many that you can't count.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a good one though. V'dimion ha'chelik hazeh. So an example of this portion, Mash Amr b'Gemara Megillah. Rabba Rabbi Zera Abdi Sudasa Bahadi Hadadi. So this is the Purim incident. Rabba and Rabbi Zera had a Purim Suda with each other. Kam Rabba Shachte Rabbi Zera. So Rabba got up and shechted. He slaughtered Rabbi Zera. By Rachme Aleva Achie, and he asked for mercy on him, and he resuscitated him. He was resuscitated. Pirshu. So what does this mean? Oh, sorry. Pirusho. The explanation is Shihikahu Macha Gedola. Upatabo Chabura Gedola Achanata Lamos. So it doesn't mean he killed him. Means he killed him. Meaning he wounded him really badly to the point where he was like inclined to death. Ulagodol Hamaka Hahi Korehu B'Lashon Shachte. And due to the severity of the wound, it says he slaughtered him. We say that again. Like I said, we say that in sports even, right? They slaughtered them. Really? They killed them and they got convicted for murder? No. It's just they beat them really badly.
Right.
Ulai Amar Kain Mipnei Shahaisa Hamaka Hahi Batavar. Maybe it was a neck wound. It's funny how specific he is, right? Upirusha V'Achie, and so what does it mean that he resuscitated him? Miloshan Hakasuv Vayechi Michalyav. Means he was enlivened from his illness, which does not mean he came back from the dead. It just means that he recovered. Okay. Uvelashon chachamim zal ad shetichya hamaka, until the wound is enlivened, meaning it heals. Yeah. Right. So that's what you. So again, like this is the example of like the average person sees that and they're like, oh, the chachamim were able to do tchiyas mesim. Oh, right. No, it was an exaggeration. Yeah.
I just had an argument with my cousin over Shabbos. He was like, he was like, the Gdolim 1,000 years ago, the generation 1,000 years ago is much different than we are, than us. They were 1,000 times smarter. Like even the camel or the donkey or whatever it was of Rav was it, who was it? Rav of some individual in the Gemara
I'm not
is
familiar-
smarter. Wait, you don't know this?
No, I
He
feel like
kept
it's more than
Shabbos,
1,000
he
years
kept
ago.
Shabbos. Even the camel or the donkey of this Gadol in the Gemara kept Shabbos. And like, but us, we are nothing. We have no right to give a peerage on them. Yeah,
That's
and,
beautiful.
That's good.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It was
But it's so literal. He believed
Yeah.
that this donkey
Kept
kept
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Wow.
What does that mean?
I mean, it says, behemtecha. Mm. Yeah. The kamohu mash amru b'ksubos, like also like it says in Chazubos, Rabbi Chanina bar Chachinai, hava ka'azil lebe Rav b'shilhi hilula, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. So Rabbi Chanina bar Chachinai went to the house of Rav in the hilula, which is like a party, I think, of Rav Shimon ben Yochai v'chulei. Amar le Iakev li ad da'asi b'hadach. Sorry, but yeah, b'hadach lo iakva le. What does that mean? Assist?
Oh, what?
Yeah,
We're still in the exaggerations, right?
Sanach Beis on Beis.
It just
in
says
Ksubos?
many similar stories are found in the Talmud.
It doesn't say it? Oh, okay, fine. All right, so I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
62.
Oh, Rabbi Huda and Sarah. That guy?
The Chamor of
Yeah, the Chamor Rabbi Huda
Yeah,
and
and
Sarah.
I took two as a my source.
Oh right.
I heard him stop.
No, I think they gave
He
the
did some.
innkeeper gave it food and it didn't eat. And then he asked him, "Do you take Trumas and Masteros?" And he was like, "No, I didn't."
Okay, Rabbi Chanina ben Chachinai went to the study hall at the end of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai's wedding. That's what the Hilula is. Amar le Iakev li ad asi b'hadach. Wait for, he said to him, Rabbi Shimon said to him, wait for me until I can come with you after my days of celebration are over. Okay, however, since he wanted to learn Torah, lo Yakva, he didn't wait for him. Azil Yasiv Tresre Shani Bebe Rav. He didn't wait for him. He just went and sat for 12 years in the study hall. Okay, wait for me. 12 years later. Ad Asi, by the time he came back, Ishtanu Shvile Damasa. All the paths of the city had changed. And he didn't know how to get home. How far does this go? Okay, let's go on. Azal Yasiv Aguda de Nahara. He went and sat on the bank of the river. Shama Lahahi Rabisa Dahavu Karula Bas. He heard the people calling to a certain girl. Chachinai, called to a certain girl. Bas Chachinai, Mali Kultsach. Daughter of Chachinai, fill your pitcher and Vatan Nizil and come up. Amar, he said, Shmamina, I conclude from here, Hi Rabisa Didan. I conclude from here that this is our daughter. What? Okay. Oh, it says in the non-bold things, meaning his own daughter whom he had not recognized after so many years. Azal Basra. Okay, he followed her. It says to his house. Hava Yasiva Debesuhu. His wife was sitting. Oh no. Kanahala Kimcha, and she was sifting flour. Dal Ena, she lifted her eyes. Chazite, she saw him. Savi Liba, her heart fluttered. That's what it says here, with agitation. Parach Rucha, oh my. Her spirit left. She died. Amar Lafanav, so he said before God, Ribono Sha'olam, Aniya Zo, this poor woman, Zeschara, this is her reward. Ba'arach mi'ale v'chaya. He asked for mercy and she was revived. Is that where this ends?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, slightly different, yeah.
See that in shock? Get that in shock.
Okay, so he says, "In Pirush Parka Rucha Shnifrda Mimena Nishmas Ruach Chaim Misa." Doesn't mean she actually died. Ela Shmirov Simchasa. Oh, twist. Due to her abundant joy, Kisharasa also Bepesa Pitam, when she saw him that moment, Nafla Upara Chelak Michalke Hanefesh Hachayav Nis Alpha. part of her vital spirit left her, and she swooned. Kasher yikra lebnei adam lefamim, like that happens to people sometimes.
It's the fainting.
Yeah. Ubikesh rachamim v'chaysa v'teshav nafsha, and he asked for mercy, and her soul was restored. Same thing with things like this.
But
A lot of
asking
resuscitation.
this mercy thing. What does that mean?
He davened. By rachamim to daven.
It's funny, like, do they understand this concept of fainting? Like,
Yeah.
so if you faint, like, you don't have to. Like, why would you daven then? It's like
maybe
you know they're gonna wake up. Like,
Not
what's
necessarily.
People
Some
get
people
shocked.
collapse and don't wake up,
Hmm.
like Bruce Lee.
Ooh. Okay. Let's check it out.
Yeah, he just aneurysm just died.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that?
When was that?
Yeah.
He was like 35, 34. He was in the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Maisio shiur b'mitzius ela shesipran osam b'mashal v'chida. Oh wow, that's a crazy category. What?
Oh man.
Things that happen in reality, but they were told by way of allegory. Yeah.
Sorry, how do we distinguish between this past category and 1-4? The how do
The
we,
Pella?
yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good question, right? Because maybe Rebbe did check Rebbe's era, and then he was revived.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of it unless I knew it.
Hmm.
Well, that goes against nature. Wouldn't that be like that'd be a miracle?
It would be a miracle. I mean, I guess part of this, I think, will come down to whether what kinds of miracles do you hold were done for Chazal?
Mm.
You know, whether open miracles were done. Like that was the thing I mentioned. That let's see if I highlighted this. I mentioned to you verbally. I don't remember if I said if we read it that Shmuel ben Chofni held. Oh no, I know I didn't do this. This is in a different book and it's in English. Shmuel ben Chofni held that open miracles only happen for Nevi'im, and therefore categorically anything that's an open miracle in Chazal he rejected being literal.
Wow.
But then others, what?
Wait, he was Rishon?
He was a Gaon,
Go.
I think.
Okay.
But then others clearly do hold that there were miracles that happened to Chazal. Let me see. I thought I got the reference from here. Let me just see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. Look at page Chaf Gimel. Maybe. Wait a minute. This is Shmuel ben Chofni. I don't know if it's the right one. Yeah. Okay. So on after the first indented footnote paragraph, Das kazo kvar hishmi b'shato Rabbi Shmuel ben Chofni Gaon kumosh kasav haradak b'pirush l'Shmuel zohi pirush Rav Shmuel ben Chofni Gaon zal v'amar alpha pi shemashmaos divrei chachamim zal b'gemara ki emes haya shehechiasa ha'isha es Shmuel lo yikublu hadvarim b'makom sheyesh machachishim. Oh no, that is a different citation. That's talking about the witch of Endor, right? The necromancer woman who resurrected Shmuel in the Navi. Yeah, never mind. All right. Yeah. So it's a good question though. How do you tell the difference?
Yeah, I don't think miracle is like a clear distinction. I mean, usually like, was there like by the rain where he
Funny Mago?
in a circle and
Yeah.
like that seems like maybe it's like.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Yeah.
also, even if we say miracles are always in this past category, what about something like the story of Megillah where Abai went to Rabbi Zera's house and he ate 60 dishes of food. Right?
Maybe there were small dishes, tapas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like an extreme thing to show you like the extent of celebrating on Purim, or is it an exaggeration?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question, but I almost think it doesn't matter because the like Yaakov, or I think like Yaakov was saying, like the idea we're going to learn from this anyway is going to be in the three categories.
Yeah, I guess like in talking about it, yeah, I realized that if you're not, the only distinction that you make in terms of that explanation is if you say that this particular like exact category of thing can happen, like as in the bringing people back to life, or let's say it's by eating 60 plates of food, if you say like whatever, that was not a good example for this, but let's say the Rabbi Meir, the story of Rabbi Meir, that person can figure that out, and that's like an actual thing that the person can do. I guess that's really the only distinction that you make in terms of how you're explaining. Right.
Yeah, that's good. Something to think about. Okay, Ma'aser She'iru b'Mesios Ela Shesibru Osan b'Mashal L'Chida. All right. So these are four categories, things that happen in reality. Ela Shedibru Osam b'Tavnis Mashal L'Chida, but they spoke about them in the form of a metaphor and allegory. Ki'ilu nisbonen, as if we should understand Shelo Yisbar Inyanam L'Chol Adam B'Chlalo, that their matter was not clear to all people in general. I don't know what that means. That when the form of it is understood by a Ma'aseh HaChacham Hanavon, by I don't know what Ma'aseh HaChacham Hanavon is, so then he'll understand it and know its intent. V'yira b'pshat k'tzas ma'aseh yosachel kazeh devarim na'im v'nechmadim. You'll find in some of these things, in the pshat of some of these anecdotes, matters that are beautiful and nice. You'll find other things where their impossibility is recognizable. I wouldn't put too much money on that. It's recognizable even to a simpleton and a child. Because people do think that Moshe was 10 amos tall. Like I've met people who think that. That's impossible.
Right.
Whatever. All right, fine. He just undermined himself. All right, there will be sometimes when it'll occur to a person the impossibility of these things in regards to the pshat, that they'll come to believe the drush based on the simple meaning, even though it's impossible to him. Meaning they'll recognize it's impossible, they'll believe it anyway. I think.
I guess they should. Like it's something that any fool or person should recognize is impossible.
Yeah.
People do think it's possible.
Yeah. But someone who knows the nature of the world, and the manner of its existence, and they know the style of Chazal to speak in mashal, in metaphor and allegory. He'll recognize the idea of the mashal and he'll discern it. Okay, fine. So an example of this is in Masechah Sukkah. Let's just look at this here.
This is the first thing you're saying about not being actually used far in the whole Adam follow.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe he's saying you should explain it to people. Meaning they cloaked it in mashal and chida to make it not easily accessible.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's consistent with what I understand about Midrashim. All right. Hanahu Kushai. So there were two Kushites. Dahavu Kaimi Kame Shlomo. They would stand before Shlomo. Tell me if there's anything significantly different. Eli Charaf.
Yeah, it says as scribes.
Oh, okay. Eli Charaf V'Achia B'nei Shisha. Okay, those are their names. Sofrim de Shlomo. They were scribes of Shlomo. Havu Yom Echad, one day, Chazia Lamalach. Shlomo saw that the angel Lamalach Hamavis to have a ka'atziv. He saw that the angel of death was sad. Amarle Amay Atzivata. He said, "Why are you sad?" Amarle Deka Bai Minai Hai Tarti Kushai. They're asking me to take the lives of these two Kushites, Diasvihacha, who are sitting here. Masrinhu. Oh my. Masrinhu l'seirim. So Shlomo handed them to the demons. Shedarinhu l'machoza de Luz, who dwelled in the city of Luz. Kimatu lemachoza de Luz shchiva. When they arrived at the city of Luz, they died. Lamahar, the next day, Chaziel Malach Hamavis to have a kabadach. Shlomo saw that the angel of death was happy. Amrle amai betichas, whatever. He said, why are you happy? Amrle, he said, ba'asar debao minai. He said, in the place that they asked me, it says here, to take them, Taman Shadrinhu, you sent me. Meaning, in other words, you basically helped my job. You told me to go there. Pasach Shlomo of Amar. So Shlomo began and said, Raglohi debar inish inun arvin be la'asr demisbai taman movilin yase. He said, the feet of a person are responsible for him. It's the place where he is in demand. There they lead him. Okay.
Sounds like fate.
Yeah, some sort of fate type thing. So what is this? This is something that happened, but it's being told in a mashal type way. So that's not hard to discern, right? Like, probably what happened, I'm going to say this before I read the Avraham and Raham, is like he saw these two guys and he sent them somewhere and they died. And he had some sort of realization of like, it was because I sent them there that they died, and like something of fate, necessity, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like he expressed it in the form of a dialogue with Malach HaMaves. Okay, so let's see here. So the evident, the simple meaning of this is absolutely impossible. To anyone who's intelligent. Because you can't talk to the Malach HaMaves unless you're in psychoanalysis. But according to my opinion, this is something that happened in reality. These two people were known to Shlomo. They went. Does that mean they died? Yeah, they died. Right? They went the way of all the earth. Because they were sick or some other thing. And he wanted to acquire strategies to save them from death. So he sent them to another land, which would be good for them. That was the thing they did back then, right? Sending them to like a different environment to like recover, like the seashores, right? What do they call them? They had a name for that type of thing. Sending them to a place where like it's good for the environment's good for their health.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it'll come to me. What?
Like Rebbe?
Like what?
Like Rebbe? You didn't see?
Oh, I thought you were saying the name of the thing. No, I don't know about that.
How Rebbe went upstate for.
Yeah, maybe like, there's a name for this.
Yeah, sure.
There's a name for this kind of thing. I don't know. Fine. So he did that. He thought that they would flee there. But they died there. The place where he thought that they would escape. I mean, I think he means escape from death. But by the will of God, you can't escape from God. And that's why he said it's inescapable. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know what the idea is, but like, because it sounds like that was a rational thing, that sometimes all you need is like a better environment and that'll help your sickness. Sounds like he's saying that was like futile in this case. So I don't know what idea you learn.
That maybe don't like you have to make the right decision to like let's say in terms of death, but
Yeah.
any decision, like you have to make the right decision, but like sometimes it doesn't always pan out. Like,
Yeah. What I want to figure out though is like the what's the mushal of the Malach HaMaves laughing or being sad and laughing, you know? And he doesn't explain that, so maybe he holds that that's not actually relevant. But I will learn it that's relevant even if this is in this category. Yeah.
I mean, if this kind of things they're cloaking in Mashal and Flida to make it not clear exactly, like not like clear to everyone, then that might be why Avraham isn't explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not like disagreeing with what they're saying. He's just talking about how it's something that actually happened, but he's not trying to give the deeper level. He's just trying to tell you how it's a thing that actually happened and how to see what actually happened from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if that's just part of the concealment or if that's part of the idea. Okay, he says it now. All of this is just to beautify the mashal and to for the lechibur inyan achida and to join it to the allegory. All right, never mind. He's saying it the way I was saying it. It's possible if you contemplate each thing, you'll find an idea for each word. I don't want to go on like this. Okay, fine. This is possible.
I wish I.
Oh yeah, so he's leaving it as a mystery. Okay. Ario, he's going to talk about you. Put down your phone. V'al titma. That was a tochacha. I've been waiting to say that for 20 minutes. V'al titma mipnei shezorchim chachamim zal b'divreim b'maisios v'agados shekulam bichlalam mashalim v'chidos. Don't be astounded that the chachamim mention many things in their words that are anecdotes and agados. Shekulam bichlalam mashalim v'chidos. That all of them include metaphors and allegories. Of inam al pipshutam, and they're not according to the pshat. It's funny. Is this the first time in this entire thing he's mentioning this fact that like this is their style? Like, don't be surprised that they use mashalim and achidos. You think that that's like a very basic thing, in you know. I'm trying to remember if you mentioned that before. I mean, I know he said in the second category of the drashos that it's a chida, but like here he's like saying it like don't be surprised if they do this. Because they explain the psukim in the words of the Nevi'im like this. In Shmuel, he went and struck the lion. He went and struck the two lions in brachos. And they express it in like a normal way as if there's no second meaning. Meaning they speak in mashal casually, is what he's saying. As if they're not like presenting a mashal, they're just speaking about it as though it's a real thing. I was reading this in the Moreh Nevuchim today, is the like the lion will lie with the lamb. You know, and the Ram says that's a mashal for Klal Yisrael and their enemies, but like they say it as though it's a thing that's actually just going to happen, you know. The ein ratzonam lomar ki psukim elu yesh lahem al kol panim echad, pirush acher chutz mipshutam. They're not saying it in a way where like it has to be that there's another meaning outside of their pshat. The samim also chidos and mashalim, and they make it a mashal allegory and mashal. Koshkein sheyesh lana linho min ha'zeh b'divrayim. So if this is the way the Nevi'im speak, certainly we should apply it to the Chachamim. That they'll speak in things, they'll speak casually in mashalim, you know, and they won't make it evident that they're speaking in a mashal, but you should just know that if the Nevi'im is speaking in a mashal, then the Chachamim are going to speak in a mashal.
And again, just through intuition, you determine.
I guess so. Yeah, sounds like it. Okay. Pshutam nimna b'einei kol ro'ah v'einav. Okay, so that's more than just intuition, because their pshat is impossible in the eyes of anyone who sees it. So my father already mentioned this in Perach Chelek in the Pirush Mishnah. So we found a statement of theirs that's wondrous and indicates and teaches that you'll find allegories and mashalim in the majority of their words. This is what it says in the Gemara Eruvin. Talmid echad shahayalo l'Rebbe Eliezer shura lachalafano. So Rabbi Eliezer had a student who paskined the halacha in front of him. You don't have this?
Well, no, but it's really weird. He says, my father pointed this out in Shemona Prakim. And then in the footnote it says, the Rambam's introduction to Perach Chelek.
That's not Shemona Prakim. Oh, that was a mashal. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a miscitation to me. Okay. So Rabbi Eliezer had a Talmud who passed in halakha from him. Amrle le'ima shalim debisahu. Okay, I'm gonna look this up here. All right, so yeah. So Rabbi Eliezer said to his wife, "Oh, that's her name, Ima Shalom. That's a nice name, mommy peace." Ishto. Oh, sorry, Ishto. Tmiya ani im yotzi zeh shanaso v'lo hotzi shanaso. I will be surprised if this one completes his year. I mean, if he lives till the end of the year. And so it was, he did not complete his year. In other words, I guess because he paskin in his presence, meaning, because that's chayiv misa. Okay? So then, Amralo, so his wife said to him, Naviata, are you a Navi? Amar la, he said to her, Lo navi anochi, I'm not a navi, v'lo ben navi. Oh, that's a famous line, and I'm not a son of a navi. Anochi. Ela kach mukubalni, rather I received by tradition, kol hamor halacha b'fnei rabo chayav misa. Anyone who paskins halacha in front of his Rebbe is liable for death. V'amar Rabba bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Oso Tamid Yehuda ben Guria Shemo, v'haya rachok mimeno shalosh parsaos. So that student was named Yehuda ben Guria, and he was 3 parsangs away from Rabbi Elazar. It's a unit of Star Wars distance. No, it's a unit of distance.
I think it's 4 million.
That's a parsec, right? Yeah. Okay, so then he says,
Wait, you're saying that's more of B'fnei Rabo? He is 3 parsangs away.
meaning despite the fact that he was 3 parsangs away, that's still considered B'fnei Rabo, I guess. That was his point,
Well,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
I was going to talk about that.
Okay.
Because
Um,
I think that we say if it was within 3 parsecs, then that's when it's within Europe.
right, but that's the point of mentioning that fact, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bifanav
I
Hava.
don't think it was more than 3 parsecs.
No.
Wait, hold on. Well, this is a new section from the Mashalim Free? Or is this the same section?
This is same category, yeah.
Oh, so for me, it's a new section. But okay.
Okay, interesting. I mean, it sounds like it's teaching halacha, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I would have thought until now, and that it's literal.
Yeah.
I mean, he says it's literal. I mean, he says it's literal, but like, there's no mushal here, right? That I've seen.
Well, he's saying it's Chida and Marshall.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the Chidus and Michelle and Yeruv to Abraham.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have guessed that from this thing.
Yeah.
All right. Unless you're going to say that he died literally, but then him positing this as a reason is like just to teach like an idea. But I don't know. The fun of Hava, so he was in his presence. But wasn't he far shalosh parsaos? Wasn't he 3 parsangs away? Kamar, is that what you said? Shemo, according to your reasoning, Shemo v'shem aviv lama. Why mention his name and his father's name? Ella shlo tomar mashal haya. Oh, so you don't say it's a mashal. Okay.
What?
Hine, let's see what he says about this. Hine nisbar lecha mashu horino bazeh. So this is clearly what we explained in this. Sheish b'divrei mashalim rabim she'enam al pi pshutam. That there are. Oh, I see. You see what the point he's making? The fact that it's
It's specifying details to show you that it's not a mashal.
which means that many other stories are a mashal. But here it says Yehud ben Gurion to say Ben Guria was to say that this is not a mashal.
How does that prove it's not a mashal?
Because it's specifics.
But we also had there are plenty of stories with rabbis that things happen to them.
Yeah, no,
There was a story, and it's saying, who was it? It was this person, and he was,
Yeah, it is an assumption, by the way. I think I get this from the Ralbag and the Rambam that in the you didn't have Tolkien's.
Tolkien.
Yeah,
Oh, what?
you didn't have authors who wrote fiction with elaborate detail.
Right.
If there was a mashal, it'd be like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, where nothing is specified. So if it was specifying things, then that means it's a real incident. That's what the Rambam says and the Ralbag says. Let's see what he says. We're almost done with this. So that it's clear what we said, that there are many things that are mashalim that are not according to their pshat. The hashiv raya zo al libachav. Take this proof to heart. The sim einachaba and pay attention to it. Kihi plia nechbedas v'raigadol. This is very wondrous and is a great proof. V'heir osi al raya zo echad mi nevone hatamid chachamim. And someone pointed this. One of my understanding students pointed this out to me. Yeah, so that's what we were saying basically. It's like it's the fact that it specify his name meant that this was a real incident. But many other ones are just mashalim. This one is like the second category of midrashos, meaning the midrashos that are the real meaning is in the mashal. Right? That was the second category. Chalakim nichbadim v'kilim v'kulam machamadim v'inyanehem gedolim v'niflaim v'ein legelos l'chol adam. So you shouldn't reveal the secrets to everyone. מפני זה דרכו בהם דרכי אחידוס ומשל. So they're written in mashal and allegory to conceal them. V'atat dalaka, and you should know this.
So
Yeah.
that was like a second thing. He is saying this category is not supposed to be encrypted, right?
Is not what?
You shouldn't like reveal the secrets of it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's stop here for today. It looks like we're going to finish next time. I think what we want to do next time, so you see there's only like 3 pages left. So I think what I'm going to try to do is look through the footnotes that we all skipped over,
Yeah.
see if there's anything there. Plan will be to prioritize finishing the drasha.
Oh, wait,
Or,
let's see it.
yeah, the siyum. Right, but after the siyum though, that's not very long, right? Because by Sadi, it's a new thing.
Right.
So let's prioritize finishing the Avraham and Ramam, and then if we have time, we'll do the footnotes, and then that way, when we get back from break, then we can start something new.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Interesting.